The morning was quiet as we left Eralis. The city's crystalline spires shimmered in the early light, a stark contrast to the darkness we were heading toward. Lysara and I traveled in silence, the tension between us palpable. Both of us knew this mission to the sanctuary was unlike anything we'd faced so far. The beacon hovered beside me, its light steady and rhythmic, like a heartbeat. It pointed the way forward, pulsing faintly whenever we veered too far off course. The sanctuary lies in the northern edge of the Sky Veil, Lysara said as we walked. Once it was a place of healing, a refuge where the ether flowed freely. If the shadow has touched it, its corruption will be profound. What exactly am I supposed to do when we get there? I asked, clutching the shard around my neck. Lysara glanced at me, her expression grave. The sanctuary's heart holds a core of pure ether. If the shadow has corrupted it, you must use the shard and the beacon to cleanse it. But be warned, the shadow will not let go of its prize easily. The terrain grew more rugged as we traveled, the crystalline ground giving way to jagged rocks and deep crevices. The hum of the ether, so strong in Eralis, was fainter here, its rhythm uneven. The beacon's light grew brighter as we approached our destination, its pulse quickening like a warning. By midday the air had grown colder, the wind carrying with it a faint, acrid scent. The ground beneath our feet was tainted, patches of corruption spreading like dark veins through the rock. "We're close," Lysara said, her voice low. Ahead the sanctuary came into view. What had once been a grand structure of flowing arches and shimmering light was now twisted and broken. The corruption had overtaken it completely, black tendrils wrapping around the walls and spilling onto the ground. The ether here felt heavy, oppressive. The shard at my neck pulsed weakly, its light dimmed by the weight of the shadow. We approached the sanctuary's entrance cautiously. The air was thick with the whispers, louder now, their voices weaving a web of fear and doubt. "You cannot save this place," they hissed. "Turn back. Leave while you still can." I clenched my fists, the shard warm against my chest. "This time," I muttered under my breath. The interior of the sanctuary was worse than I'd imagined. The once beautiful halls were dark and decayed, the walls pulsing with the same sickly light I'd seen in the corrupted village. The whispers echoed endlessly, making it hard to focus. "We must find the core," Lysara said, her blade drawn. "Stay close." The journey through the sanctuary was harrowing. Creatures emerged from the shadows, their forms twisted and barely recognizable as once living beings. Lysara fought with precision and grace, her blade cutting through the corruption with ease. I did my best to hold my ground, using the ether to create barriers and blasts of light. The training I'd undergone with the Weavers served me well, but the constant attacks left me drained. "Do not falter," Lysara urged as we pushed deeper into the sanctuary. "The core is near. Focus on the light." Finally we reached the sanctuary's heart. The room was vast, its ceiling lost in darkness. At its center stood the core, a massive, crystalline structure that should have been glowing with pure etheric light. Instead it was shrouded in shadow, its surface cracked and oozing with corruption. The whispers surged, louder than ever. "You are too late," they taunted. "This place belongs to us now." Lysara stood guard as I approached the core, the beacon hovering beside me. Its light flared brightly, illuminating the dark tendrils that writhed around the crystal. "Use the shard," she said. "Focus its energy through the beacon. Cleanse the core." I held the shard in one hand and the beacon in the other. Closing my eyes, I focused on the shard's light, letting its pulse guide me. The ether responded, flowing through me and into the beacon. The light struck the core, piercing through the corruption. The tendrils recoiled, hissing and writhing, but they didn't retreat entirely. Instead the shadow surged, coalescing into a form that stood between me and the core. It was the same figure I'd seen in the vision days ago, cloaked in darkness with eyes that burned like embers. "You will not undo what we have claimed," it growled, its voice shaking the ground. The shard's light flared again, but the figure raised a hand, and a wave of darkness crashed over me. I stumbled, the weight of the shadow pressing down on me like a physical force. "Nico!" Lysara shouted, her blade slicing through the tendrils that reached for me. I gritted my teeth, forcing myself to stand. The beacon was still glowing, its light flickering but steady. I focused on it, channeling the shard's energy into its core. The light surged, brighter than before, cutting through the darkness. The figure let out a roar of rage, its form flickering and unstable. "This is not the end," it snarled before dissolving into the shadows. As the last of the corruption faded, the core began to glow. Its light spread through the sanctuary, restoring the walls and banishing the darkness. The whispers fell silent, replaced by the familiar hum of the ether. I collapsed to my knees, the shard and beacon dim in my hands. Lysara knelt beside me, her expression a mix of relief and admiration. "You did it," she said softly. "The sanctuary is restored." We left the sanctuary as the sun dipped below the horizon, its light now a beacon of hope shining across the sky veil. The shadow had been driven back, but I knew it wasn't gone. This was just the beginning.